Okay, welcome into the Aggie Up podcast. I'm Isaac Draxler. Thanks for listening tonight.
And I'm Seth Tuba.
So, we're going to look back at the USC game. I know a lot of people are freaking out about the loss, and more than anything, probably just looking at the way Utah State lost and worried about that. Obviously, the final score. Some concerns, obviously special teams and so forth. So we'll get into that. We'll break it down. And uh, First of all, let me mention our sponsor, ustateaggies.com. We talked about it on the last podcast, but if you didn't listen to the Arkansas State preview, definitely check that out. Um, the features the beyond the recruiting news and the premium content and all that kind of stuff. There's a shop button that you can click. It takes you to directly to the Utah State fan store, and they have everything from hats to shirts to coats to tailgating stuff, all kinds of things. Um, every once in a while I'll jump on there and I'll be surprised at some of the deals that are going on, and then also some new a new hat or something like that. So it's already always fun to check that out. Um, and then also the tickets button. Definitely check out the tickets. A lot of times these road games against in driving distance, especially this year with Nevada, Colorado State, Wyoming, Boise State, you're going to be able to find really good deals on that on the tickets button. Just click the tickets button. It'll first bring up the Utah State tickets, but you could buy. I bought Jazz tickets on there before. I have gone to Utah. You can buy Utah BYU tickets. You can buy any tickets. Obviously it'd probably be a good idea to, if you want to go to the BYU game. Speaking of which, buy them on there and get some tickets. Hopefully right in the middle of a bunch of BYU fans. So that'd be awesome. And so definitely check that out. There's a ton of content about Arkansas State. The Arkansas State game coming up. Just the way it worked out, we recorded that first, and we had Jeff from the Arkansas State site, the scout site, on with us. So we really appreciate him jumping on. He gave some great insight. I mean, just real quick. Obviously, we don't want to cover that again, but it was a great breakdown. I think it's really going to be a good measuring stick game, even more so than the USC game, because there's a lot of similarities between Arkansas State and Utah State. And this year, Arkansas State, well, I take that back. They're not any worse. If anything, they may be a better team than Utah State played a couple years ago. So by no means is it going to be an easy game. These two programs, they play tough, especially when they meet up. I think we can expect a pretty good game. So we'll see what happens there. So, obviously, the purpose of this podcast is to look back at the USC game. Let me just start out with my little rant, and my rant is about the offense. I won't. I'm not even going to touch the special teams. I'll let Seth. I'll throw the softball to Seth and let him knock that out of the park. But the offense, the only thing I keep thinking about when I think about the offensive game plan is I think about when I turned 16 and I bought my own car and it was a standard. And when I was learning to drive that standard, I would put it in the wrong gear. So I'd go from like second into fifth gear, or I'd go from first into third. Well, guess what happens? The car doesn't go. That third gear, that fifth gear is a great gear. It works really well, but it's just not the right. You can't put it into fifth gear. So that's kind of how the game plan seemed to me. Is those bubble screens and those tunnel screens and those um, you know end arounds and running back screens and all the plays. You can go through the play by play and look at what play and what happened every down. But that the start of that game just it wasn't the right play call against the defense USC was playing against, and that happens from time to time. But it was like, eh, they were trying to skip to fifth gear instead of establishing the run or setting that up, to a certain extent. I mean, you look at the other side, you look at USC, that the long drive that they had after they had already taken a lead and everything. USC took advantage of the weakness in the defense. They threw those short passes and they ran the ball and they mixed it up. They saw that Utah State's cornerbacks were playing off, and so they threw it to their wide receivers, and their wide receivers usually made the first guy miss, and got some positive yardage. So um, play calling is great, and everybody has their opinions on what plays, and maybe you hate bubble screens or whatever. But you know what? If you call a bubble screen against the right defense, it's great. It's the perfect play, and it can go for an 80-yard touchdown. Same thing with throwing it deep. You're not going to throw it deep every game, and you're not going to throw a dive. You're not going to run a dive every play. But those plays have their place. Those plays need to be in the playbook and need to be executed when they're run. But at the same time, the defense is going to run certain plays, and I was 100% expecting USC to be a little bit more aggressive, and they weren't. And so when USC wasn't blitzing and coming off the edge and being as aggressive, those screens and different plays didn't work. They USC just sat back and said, you know what? Until you prove that you can beat us, until you prove that you're gonna make us miss or do something great, we're gonna play our base defense. We're gonna sit back and let you do your thing, and we're just gonna tackle you. And that's what happened. I mean, the offense did not look great. I mean, granted, you look at special teams, and that first drive when Utah State probably should have got points, at least points on the board, obviously. At that point it would have been a lot different game, you know. But that being said, you know, it, I can't blame the players, and I can't even see a huge difference in USC's talent as far as on the field. I mean, I can't blame that as much as some of the play calls, some of the coaching. So I wish it was different. I wish, looking back and maybe, optimism for the future. I wish I could say, when Utah State goes into a Washington State or a Washington or a Utah or a USC in the future, when they go up against a Pac-12 team, I'm expecting, great things. But uh, you know, recent history shows me that there's not that much to look forward to. So that's my rant. Um, I wish there was at least, maybe some more positive things to say. I mean, we can get into some of the more, um, the individuals that looked good, and some things to kind of look forward to in the future. But that's my rant as far as the offensive play calling. And um, Seth, I know you've got your own deal.
Yeah, and I'm going to talk about the special teams. It's a 7-0 ball game. We march down the field. We get it in field goal range. 36, 37-yard field goal, which seems to be Utah State's. If you go back to Wisconsin and schwanking a 37-yarder to win it. But anyway, so you go up. The snap's good. The hold's good. And then the field goal kicker he barely even had enough to get it there. Whether it's jitters or whatever, there's no excuse for that. You've played all last season, yada yada yada, whatever. You got to make that. You have got to make that.
Yeah,
And
every
then
big kick you can't yank. You can't just
no,
yank it to the left every big kick. Not
every
acceptable.
single time. And it doesn't, people can put it on the coaching. They can put, well, guess what? Different coach, you know. And I think this coach is better. But for whatever reason, we get into these big games, and special teams seems to be pretty special. And I don't know what's going on during the week or whatever, but I mean, it's like obviously we can punt the ball. He's got a booming leg, but whatever happens during the game, or I don't know if it's nerve, I don't know what's going on. But the game plan was when we're going to punt, we're not going to punt it to the dude. So what do? You punt it to the dude. And that's exactly what happens. That's why the game plan was don't even kick it to him. I mean, that's why we kicked off, and it was a pooch kickoff. Don't even give him an opportunity. And people can say, well, there was a block in the back or two. Well, the first block in the back that I saw, yeah, it looked like a block in the back. And you can cry all you want about the refs being corrupt or whatever you want in the Pac-12. They weren't throwing flags all night. And that's on Utah State and on USC. They weren't throwing them. We had multiple plays that could have been pass interference against us that they didn't call. So it goes both ways. But anyway, the block in the back, I can't remember. I think it was our snapper that was down there, and he got drilled in the back. Yeah, he wasn't going to make the tackle anyway, and there might have been another one. But the bottom line is, the stick to the game plan. Don't kick it to him. You know. So you give up a punt return. And then the block. I don't even want to talk about the block punt. Just do your job. We got three guys there. Falumalo doesn't even move. He doesn't even move. He just stands there. I mean, the guy runs right by him and he doesn't even move. It's like he puts his hand out. I mean,
What was he looking at? Like you're the end guy on the
his hair
shield.
was probably way.
What
I
are you
don't know.
looking at? Are you looking at the ball? I mean, are
That's that.
you might as well turn around and watch the punter punt it because you are completely
That's all he did.
worthless.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, he didn't even move. Like I rewound it because I was at work. I was at work. I couldn't watch the game live. I recorded it at home. I didn't watch it until Monday because just hearing everything on the radio and just people talking about it and everything. And finally, I was calmed down enough to watch it on Monday, just so we could talk about it tonight. Um, and I watched that play 3 different times, and literally he put his hand out. It's like you giving him a high five as he runs by you to block it. I mean, in those games,
What was so funny on Twitter is somebody said, if you're why do you even have the shield up? Why do you have three guys in the shield if you're not even gonna move? And I thought, this was right when it happened. I thought back and I thought, was there a shield? I don't even remember seeing those three guys. I don't even know if there
and that's
was a shield. Wait a minute.
and and that and that's the thing. I don't care what game it is. I don't care if you're playing whoever you're playing. You cannot, especially when you're playing USC, and people can say, "Oh, they're down. They had so many bad." Well, it's USC, and it's at the Coliseum. It doesn't matter. You know, you cannot lose 3 points and give up 14 more. Just on special teams. I mean, you take the 14 out and you add get us to 10 or whatever, and you take the 14. It doesn't matter the outcome of the game at that time. The overall outcome. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
you
It doesn't
shouldn't do
take.
that against
But
Arkansas State or Air
no,
Force or
you,
anybody.
you,
Against any
you
team that's
cannot.
going to come back and bite you.
No, and I was talking to you. It kind of makes me. It kind of makes me apprehensive because our special teams, our coverage, our special teams coverage, our punt coverage, and kickoff coverage has been good. It has been good. Um, Maybe not the best, but it's been good. But you got a lot of your backup guys that are playing special teams that, not your starters. I mean, yeah, Vigil played, those guys played special, on special teams or whatnot, but the majority of the guys are further down the depth chart. And with the brain farts that we've been having, it just makes me worried. I know the talent's there, and we're going to talk about the positives here in just a minute.